talked to myself. I was like, no, I'm in denial. They just don't want to. They don't want to risk it. It's a preseason game. He's only played 27 minutes at the preseason. It's a preseason game. We don't need it. We will be witnessing Steven Adams try to maneuver this season, ultimately with the goal of him being healthy and available for the postseason. So that was where my denial started, and then it went into this cannot be true. Maybe Woj or Shams got it wrong, and then the email went into the email box from the Memphis Grizzlies themselves, and I said, oh, okay, this is true. So then came the anger, and I think based on what I saw in the response on social media, everyone hit that anger stage relatively quickly. Like, how did this happen? How have we been deceived on the injury of Steven Adams from January of last year through the possibility that he would return to the possibility that he would return for the playoffs, ultimately never came back. We never saw him again. It's why so many people had PTSD going into this season. And so then you're asking yourself, well, why didn't he have the surgery last year? Why didn't he have the surgery in May? Why was the front court depth not something that was addressed during the offseason for the Grizzlies? And within this anger is also the sheer recognition of how important Steven Adams is. And I don't have to rehash it aggressively because everybody who follows the Memphis Grizzlies understands how important Steven Adams is from a rebounding standpoint, as a screener, as an entirely underrated passer in the league. The lanes that he helps create for Ja Morant when Ja Morant's out on the court, he can be the best version of himself. He is a bouncer. We all remember seeing him pick up Tony Bradley and just casually move him to the side. He's just good at being a really good, big dude. And yes, you have Ja, Jaren, and Dez as your young core, but there is an importance of Steven Adams that it goes without saying. Like, that's why this hurts as bad as it does, and that's why it doesn't feel fair. And so then you enter the bargaining stages of grief, and it's like, all right, I think collectively everybody in the city of Memphis would be willing to donate a small piece of their own PCL to build a super PCL to bring Steven Adams. This is where you get delusional. This is where you think, maybe if I bargain well enough, if I put enough on the table, please, Steven, come back, throw those baseball passes, set those big man screens, take my other Achilles. I don't care. Take all the legs in all of Memphis and bring back Steven Adams. But bargaining is dumb because it doesn't work. And then you get into depression, which is just anger, but a little softer. And you're just really sad, and it's opening week, and we should be celebrating the Grizzlies opener against the Pelicans, but instead we're thinking to ourselves, oh dear God, how is this going to go? And not only are you down Steven Adams, you're down 2 starters for the first 25 games of the season, and this is where you start to spiral because you're not going to see Ja Morant for those first 25. Oh, and let's not forget that one of your most important role players, Brandon Clark, is coming back from an Achilles injury, and I know everybody is quick to jump on well, maybe we'll still get him back, but as the Achilles realist in this scenario, I will staunchly stay on the side of I'll believe that when I see it for this season. And that's when things start to feel really dark and really dreary, and that's where you eventually move into acceptance. And acceptance isn't fun. This is grief we're talking about, but acceptance is reality. And going back to the anger and depression and the why wasn't this handled differently, hindsight is always 20/20. And when you look at what that PCL surgery is, the Grizzlies very clearly believed that Steven Adams had a potential to come back last season. Like, that is what this tells me. And there is an understanding that windows in the NBA are so tight. And if you get that window cracked open and you are trying to breathe that sweet, sweet championship air, you are behaving in a way and making decisions in a way that go all in, that push your chips. And so if there was any chance that Steven Adams could have come back for the playoffs last year, that would be why he did not originally go the operative route with an operation that has a 9 to 12 month recovery attached to it. And that's why you're stuck with that right now. And that is why you are in a position where the Grizzlies now have to do something, right? And it might not happen immediately. They know they can be regular season good with what they've got. Like,